Dear colleagues, dear students, it's my pleasure to present today a very important topic, a positive teacher-student relationship for enhancing learning. I'm Associate Professor of Oral Maxillofacial Surgery, College of Dentistry at Gulf Medical University. Here is what we are targeting. So we want to understand the importance of positive teacher-student rapport and its impact on students' learning and well-being, as well as explore effective communication strategies that would foster better relationship between teachers and students. And of course, by default, it would lead to increased student engagement. And this is what we actually are looking for. Also discover practical tips and activities that create a positive and inclusive classroom atmosphere that supports students' access. By this photo, I am actually showing you how this topic is warm to my heart. Those are my students, interns at Gulf Medical University currently, who actually were my students and previous university. And despite the fact that many years passed, we are still in touch, we're still in good relation. You would say that this topic could be called in any different way. We could title it as professionalism in teaching methodologies. However, I would like to share with you what actually made me think of positivity.
يعني كانوا يعرفون في تحديات كثيرة لكن ما في تحدية ما قدرنا عليها ولا شفت تحدي مر على زايد وجنبه لازم يتحدى ويغلب وهذا الشعور الإيجابي العالي ورثناه من زايد صراحة.
If we look at the next slide, so we can see clearly a leader that made his impact not only on the country, United Arab States, but all over the world with his positivity, with his leadership. And one of the quotes that was made by him actually, positivity is a way of thinking and happiness is a lifestyle. And it's not what you own or do that makes you happy. It's how you think about the things. So it's how we think about the teaching as well, by His Highness Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. If we look at the definition of our role as educators in medical education, and here I'm targeting all, let's say, departments, colleges, it can be pharmacy, it can be nursing, MBBS, dentistry, it's related to all. We know that, first of all, we need to look at our own character and not on the student's character. First, we start from ourselves. It's very important to integrate personality and teaching style. You know that it plays an important role in shaping how we, as a teachers, as an educators, approach teaching. Different personalities would come up with different teaching methodologies as well, communication styles, classroom interactions. We can see that different personalities would have a different, ways. For example, the influence one would be energetic, sociable, positive. However, I do believe that students are expecting us to combine, all of those styles, let's say. So we have different teaching styles. Let's say One of those is authority or lecture style. So when you come to a lecture hall and you think that students are mandated to listen to you, you do not want to interact with them, you give them your own examples without asking them what is important for them today, what they have gone through in their clinics, and etc. Those who are, for example, facilitator or activity style, so they will promote self-learning, self-actualization, and critical thinking skills. But again, it shouldn't be like, if I want to miss one of the topics, let me just give it as a self-learning. I normally like to, participate in self-learning. For example, we recently did one of them interesting activities when I noticed that, for example, students need some more training in writing assignments, referencing skills, and etc. And we decided to do a workshop where we targeted those topics that where students found themselves a bit weak in this, and then we just discussed it together and implemented what we have learned together. So it was a self-learning, but at the same time under the supervision of professors in the university. There are a lot of different articles nowadays about study and teaching styles, personality of a teacher for effective teaching. Praise one of them, and we can look at the main points. So if we look at impact on teaching and learning, so by educators, it has a significant impact on the teaching and learning process. Different teaching style can affect how students engage with the material and how effectively they would go with it. Again, the factors that would affect teaching style, they can include a mentorship, subjects that being taught, academic knowledge, student demands, personal traits, time constraints, and more. So let's say, for example, I'm teaching a subject that is quite difficult, and definitely in your mind, there is a lot of different subjects that came to your mind. And but students still love it. Most probably the reason behind it would be that students love it because they love you. They love the way you are delivering this information to them. And this is what we need to say, that we are those who will be the reason for being in love or to hate one of those subjects. If we look at another slide and another article, so the duties and responsibilities of a medical teacher, this is one of professor and head microbiology department in Nepal. So he has defined or said that teachers play vital roles in the lives of the students, which means not only academically, but maybe in their future as well. They are best known for the role of educating the students. A teacher must be a leader if she wants to function effectively in classroom. And teachers will be the one who will set, a tone and create or build an environment the best for the students. I can say that there should be an example. I believe that many of us can actually say that there is, a teacher, a doctor, professor who actually played a role in our life. I would give an example of myself. So, for example, Professor Yusupov, when I was involved, as a surgeon in clinics and my PhD program, so he stopped me one day and he said, define the priorities, finalize your PhD, and then go ahead with continuous night duties, practicals, and surgical skills, let's say. So yeah, I sat with myself, I thought about it, and I really sat on my PhD, finalized it, and later on I could be engaged in both teaching, clinics, and etc. So yeah, Professor Yusupov really played an important role in my life. Someone had to tell me this, today, if we as an educators apply to any places of, of work, and if we look at the job descriptions, we will find that a lot is expected from us, like, be punctual, adhere to institution policies, etc., etc. We will definitely mention in our CVs that we are actually doing all of this. However, we need to look deeper into this. So when it says be punctual, or be available during official working hours, it means that we should give sufficient time to our students, That's why our availability is important. So a student knows that he will get an hour from us. So he puts in his mind that he will be discussing certain topics and we are not there, So this is again where we start having a gaps between us and our students. Conduct classes as scheduled to maximize learning opportunities. Again, when we are in hurry to finalize our syllabus, we will, skip some of important information. And that again goes to the minus or negative point for our students. Basically, we should say that finally, that what we do is we present a content, we provide a practice and the feedback, and assess the learning, of course, right? There are different things that today plays a role in our life and says that, that will make us change some of the things. I've got an email today, and they were like, promoting one of the universities, and, what I looked at, if you see here, the importance of extracurricular activities. So they actually presented the clubs, the information about their university activities as something positive, which is very nice, because today students are looking into this. Even if we want to deliver any of the information to our students, we will definitely be able to do it maybe easier if we target let's say important topics, but in a way they want to see it, to do it, let's say, right? So we are a resource person, of course. A leader in a medical college is a teacher who will take an extra task. Teachers who are active in their work will often have more jobs than just one that was assigned to them when they were hired. That is, let's say, written in their contract. So I would stop here and ask you to ask yourself if you agree or disagree with those points. I would definitely say that for me, yeah, it's always like that. I will always take something more than it is requested, right? Let me go, okay. So we should keep in our mind something very important as well. For example, I had my training in Turkey, Azerbaijan, Austria, Vienna, Akaha Hospital, and of course, majority of my academic practice was actually in UAE. And I need to mention that what we are discussing today, mentorship, advising, etc., is different in different countries. So, for example, for a period of time when I was in my country, we were not actually having academic advising sessions where the teacher would target the problems that we are facing. If we have just moved, for example, from another country, if we are facing anything that could affect the academic growth as well, which is very important. I can say that I've learned it actually in UAE. So yeah. We should be open for learning, develop a passion for learning. If you do so, you will never cease to grow, as said Anthony, right? And a learner is a person who is always growing in life and will never claim that they know everything. My dad, professor in skin and venereology, was always saying that, or is always saying that, whenever he would go during his PhD to his supervisor, he would always see him reading something. He would tell him that you are our role model and you know everything we are learning from you today. And he would stop him and tell him that, no, I know nothing. And this is how we grow and improve ourselves, when we actually tell ourselves what's our weakness. Sometimes what makes us do some changes can be, for example, ministry requirements, disease patterns. There is a new, for example, recently it was the pandemic situation, COVID-19, where we had to address it and go with the flow, you know, by implementing a new ways of teaching, online sessions, and etc., etc. So what is also important is students' expectations, students' feedback. What we look at by the end of term, semester, as something that should actually drive us into changing something towards the better, of course. There are a lot of challenges and issues that we face today in medical education. You know, there are 2 points of view. First of all, we need to say that some of the people would say that what is taught is not necessarily learned. So when a teacher teaches, there is no guarantee that students will learn, actually. So when they are graduated and they don't know how to do anesthesia, I don't know, basics in dentistry, general surgery, etc., etc. I'm giving an example as a surgeon, of course. Do we need to blame ourselves or no? I will give you an example of Dr. Muhannad Nassar, who is an associate professor in endodontics. And he would always say that he is not going to compromise on his reputation. So he would give his best by giving students the recent information in dentistry, you know, allowing them to know more about certain topics by doing journal clubs, etc. And I can say today that I've met a lot of students who would say that he was a bit strict with us, but we are so thankful to him for teaching us, for giving us a lot of new information. And we go to other places today and we feel confident, comfortable with the knowledge that we have in this particular subject. So it's basically, I think, something to think about it. You need to also ensure by looking at the difference between the experts and teachers. So if we will ensure that experts will transmit knowledge effectively, we need to work on the challenges of communicating complex knowledge to novices. Those who can do this effectively are called teachers, and those who cannot would be called as an expert. So there is a huge difference between this. At the period of COVID-19, as I said, that one of those challenges that we have faced was let's say a mental condition or psycho situation that we were facing. By the way, it's not only students, all of us, even teachers. We suddenly had to sit at home, because of lockdown. We were not able to know what's going to happen. Am I going to graduate? Will I continue my work? And etc., etc. So at that period of time, I created, for example, one of YouTube channels where I started to discuss different dental and non-dental topics with where I was inviting my students. So it was a challenge, but I used it as an opportunity. Here you see on the photo, Sarah Murad, Miss Sarah Murad from MBC channel. So for example, I've invited her and told her that if you can give us some time in the evening, so, you know, students loves you a lot in UAE and maybe other countries as well. And if you give them some time, discuss something, how you are, you know, overcoming those challenges, I believe that this will positively affect students. And later on, we started to discuss, you know, medical licensing, dental licensing in different countries. That was an amazing experience. So we got it, we you know, changed the challenges into the opportunities. Okay. There is something that is called phenomenon of modern society. Those are the challenges that are faced by the dental students of today. So let's say, for example, I don't know what do you think about it, but sometimes we need to think of there are students who are working and studying, for example. They would go through financial issues. It might affect their studying as well, you know, so this always should be, I guess, kept into consideration, you know. At the same time, it's very important, you know, to discuss the teaching approaches to handle, for example, cognitive challenges that students would face. So students' mental mindset, this would refer to a student's perspective, belief, and expectations about a particular subject or topic. So let's say, for example, I will give you something in dental specialty, implantology, where the students think actually that they are supposed to do or to place implants in a theoretical class, for example, right? And it's very important to keep in our mind that we do explain to our students from the beginning that what they are supposed to expect or what is going to happen in this subject. Another thing would have been metacognition and self-regulation. So this would have this process would include monitoring and controlling the thought process, emotions, and behavior of a person. Some of the students, as we know, are overconfident. By that, they do not pay attention to information that is delivered to them in a class. So it's very important to address this issue, and doing that by carrying out self-reflection process such as continuous evaluation, assessments. It will help them to know where they are at the moment, to understand where is their weakness as well. Insufficient prior knowledge and misconceptions. So sometimes we see that, for example, student wasn't very good in anatomy, and today we are discussing ear diseases, and he's not aware of, you know, of anatomical parts. So it's also very important to, in the beginning of the class, to understand where we stand, and based on that to continue with the topics, maybe giving them some of extra assignments, extra references that they were supposed to revise. Or otherwise, I would start, for example, with anatomy as an introduction and then go ahead with the diseases itself. So we have constraints of mental effort and working memory. So some of the students would come up and say that, for example, you can see here in this YouTube channel, he was discussing that he has given an experiment or a task to a student. So a group said that, for example, they have understood the whole concept. It was so interesting for them. The other will say that I had to concentrate so hard to complete that lab, and I have no idea what I was supposed to gain from it. So by the time he was supposed to understand what was going on, he actually did not understand the whole concept itself. So here we need to organize for them the information, provide them with micro-learning contents and practicing retrieval mechanism. Those could be a tackle for those constraints, you know. What is about today? So what does it mean to be a teacher in a higher education for the next decades? Teacher needs to have a digital literacy. It's very important to research mentality and continuous learning to stay updated. Our job isn't only to teach anymore. That's something that we need to highlight, you know, many times. If we have students with attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, we know that the symptoms here would be inattention, hyperactivity, impulsivity as well, you know. So there is a lot of different articles that you can read about today where they will be telling you what is the relationship between us and those students. By the way, a lot of articles are saying that, or researchers are saying that those relations are mostly finalizing as a conflict, you know. There is a lot of innovative strategies, collaborative learning, cooperative learning, experimental learning. We need to be updated, you know. The biggest enemy of a teaching is a talking teacher, because learning became fruitful only when it provides an opportunity to think creatively, when both sides, both parties would contribute to a lecture. It should be a discussion, activity, you know, not one way discussing. Another insight from another research, the better the student relationship, the better the learning attitude of the students. Students definitely prefer a certain physical distance between their teachers and themselves to ensure a healthy relationship. But at the same time, the students expected there to be more academic interaction between teachers and students. To students, constructive feedback was that which was not judgmental or solely negative as well. So this is also something that should be discussed today. And by the way, I would recommend you to read this article, for example. Enhancing communication skills and innovative engagement, that's also something very important. We need to see the difference between the school students and students at a higher level. So what do students say about it? They show respect, value the individuality of each student, and are kind and polite. A caring teacher gives honest but kind feedback and offers second chances. That's what students in the school would expect from a teacher. Students' example, so at the college level, students prefer professors who are approachable. Nowadays, I guess it's very important. They even highlighted in one of the studies that, you know, if they pass by and they see a teacher, they prefer those who are saying hi to them, you know, who are also set, high expectations. They are fair, honest, respectful, open at the same time, supportive and encouraging. We know that there is a lot of new technologies in dental and medical education, and there is a lot of platforms of the social media, and we need to know how to deal with it, where to guide our students. So you can look at one of the researchers, social media usage among dental undergraduate students, where there was a comparative research or study. So as we can read from here, an interesting finding was spending a greater number of hours per week of the most popular social media applications like WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook by the Malaysian students for the purpose related to their dental education. Do you know those examples when they will listen to the broadcast, to podcast, information from those influencers, let's say, about certain topics, even, and they will be more attractive to that rather than, you know, doing that in the lecture hall. We should know that also it's not only students who are sitting there, but we maybe need to use this as an opportunity as well, and use it as an educators as well to deliver certain information. So today we need to know that, for example, there are commonly used social media applications, and here is the example of their use in education. So we can see, for example, YouTube could be amazing for demonstration of a product, procedure, or a technique. PowerPoint presentation could be also, offered there. We have Google, Pinterest, different information. For example, sometimes if I see my students are not very good in infection control, and I try to target it verbally by demonstrating, etc., etc. Finally, maybe I will just put one post about it and say that, oh yeah, it's very important to address the infection control issues because 1, 2, 3, you know, and they will read it, like it, and by default understand it. So today, social media and health professions education, we need to explore those platforms for teaching purposes by enhancing engagement, foster collaboration, and create dynamic learning experiences that resonate with today's STAVI students. Here is the opportunity, as I said, how to, to maybe use these challenges today for our, for our benefit, let's say, as an educators. We need It's very important to look also the risk into the risks and benefits of social media and dental foundation training. So we need to dental and medical as well, of course. It involves the collaboration and interactions of many users. We need to explain to them that finally, when you are addressing something, you are not saying it to your friends or to few people. It's a community. It is actually involving the community. Another challenges or mistakes. So we need to ensure that the quality of information that students are delivering are good enough. That they should, for example, say that I'm a student, not a doctor yet. For example, there is no references, lack of evidences, a lot of different things that I listed here. It might actually damage the professional image. We need to explain to our students that today it might damage their reputation for the future as well, right? There is a lot of legal issues that they might face. For example, if they will be giving patient information, photos of the patient, so where we need to actually stop them, right? There will be a lot of tips for staying there by, addressing the rules, by explaining to them what are the challenges that they might face in the future. Let's look at the students' opinion here, just to understand where they actually spend more time and what they think about it. So I've done in my Instagram a poll. So I asked them if they approach their professors for an advice after graduation. They said always, but the interesting part is that they said, I forgot the name of my teacher. There was such an answer as well. Where did they spend most of their time? In Instagram, let's say. That's what my followers said. I asked them if they think that they are lucky to have a good relation with their professors, and do they think that it could be a social media could be today a learning platform, which they said yes as well. So I would end up with this video. That's very interesting, and I would suggest you to listen to a lot of those videos from her side.
Learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to share with you the information that was very interesting for me.